The release of Outward's Definitive Edition is a good time to pick up the game. Come back to it or give it another chance, as the update has made the game even better than before. That being said, Outward's combat has acted as a wall for a number of new players, because it has far more depth than most people realize. It's also cheesy by nature, and understanding this is a premise to victory. I am Pentagram and I have been playing this game since its release in 2019. In this video, I will try to give you some elements that will allow you to master Outward's melee combat. There is a lot of ways to kill your enemies in this game, but I personally enjoy using melee weapons, and it will be most people's first contact with Outward's combat. Let's dive right in. For a melee user, stamina is everything. Every combat action costs stamina: attacking, blocking, dodging, and running. Managing this precious resource is at the core of the combat. Outward incorporates some survival mechanics that reflect the well-being of your character, so you must ensure you are in the best state possible before engaging in combat. You can easily stack 3 stamina buff types: resting, food, and water. By sleeping in a house, an inn, or in most tents, you can get a buff affecting your stamina, generally a cost reduction buff. To this, you can add a stamina regeneration buff by eating some food. In the early game, eating gabberries or cooked eggs is an easy way to constantly maintain this buff. And then, you can stack the water stamina regeneration buff. That will give you some more stamina regeneration. Maintaining these 3 buffs is very important in Outward for a melee reliant character, but it also helps you traveling, as you can run longer distances without running out of stamina too fast. In combat, spamming attacks is what will cause stamina to run out faster. Be mindful of your attacks and let your stamina regen between blows. When blocking, lower your guard between enemy blows to let your stamina come back up. Various actions will deplete your max stamina too. You can get this back up with various recipes or by sleeping. Impact and Stagger are at the core of Outward's melee combat. Impact resistance is represented by the white bar under enemy's health bar. Your impact resistance is represented by a white bar in the bottom of your screen. When hitting an enemy, his impact resistance bar will go down, as every weapon inflicts some impact damage. When the white bar reaches 50%, the enemy will be staggered, and every hit he takes will stagger him when he's under 50%. When the bar reaches 0, the enemy will fall to the ground, giving you an opportunity to chain a few blows or prepare a strong attack to stagger him again. The player will follow the exact same rules and can be staggered or fall to the ground by taking too many hits. Obviously, the heavier the weapon, the higher the impact damage. Every single melee weapon in Outward is unique in the way it plays, and I cannot showcase all the weapons here, as every single weapon would need a specific guide on how to use them. All weapons use different combos by switching between basic and special attacks. You should definitely try to test the different weapons and see which one fits your test the most. All of the melee weapon types can be obtained without leaving the first city, by looking around or buying from a blacksmith. Every weapon also has a unique skill. By talking to Burak before leaving Siaso, you will learn one of these unique skills depending on the weapon you have equipped at the time. All the other specific skills can be learned, but you will have to find the adequate trainer, and they are dispatched all over the map. Now I can still give you a piece of advice, as some weapons can help you a lot as a beginner. I would recommend the one-handed sword or the spear. The one-handed sword offers you the advantage of speed and the possibility to use a shield. One-handed swords are the fastest weapons of all, and allow you to easily hit enemies between their attacks and raise your shield in time to block. Spears are also very easy to use. Their long reach allows you to constantly hit enemies while staying out of their reach. The special attack of a spear is especially good at this, and it has some incredible reach. Understanding how enemy AI works is also a thing that will help you a lot in combat. There are 2 main types of enemies in this game: fighters and casters. Some enemies are between these two, but they are not that numerous. Let's begin with fighters. The typical fighter is a human bandit. It uses melee weapons. Some fighters can block and some players might find them really annoying to deal with. All fighters have a charge attack that can be baited by taking some distance. This attack opens them to a very easy retribution. If you do not want to bait the charge attack, walk towards them and then, when you are close enough, maintain block. They will eventually launch a fury of attacks. Once their attacks are over, they are open to your hits. If you inflict enough impact damage in this opening, you can easily stagger them and deal some substantial damage. You do not need a shield to block. All weapons block 100% of the melee damage in this game. I would not advise trying to roll through fast attacks at first. Blocking is very reliable in Outward, so do not be afraid to do so. Now let's look at casters. Casters generally try to stay far and use range attacks like magical blasts. To fight them, you need to close the distance. You can roll through their attacks if you get the timing right, but you can also generally dodge a lot of projectiles simply by running at them sideways. Most casters have dangerous attacks once you get close, but it can easily be baited and then you are pretty much free to damage them. Most of what you can learn in this category comes from personal experience, and in time, you will know how to deal with every single encounter. Outward's combat relies a lot on skills. I will not give you here a complete list of the existing skills as there are way too much of them. That being said, I can still give you a few tips about some of them. Every player starts the game with a skill push kick in its quick slots. This is the most useful early game skill, and you can still find some use for it very late into the game. Push kick does very little damage, but a lot of impact damage. Most early game enemies can be staggered by one kick and one attack, if not just the kick, as long as they are not blocking. So for example, if you remember what I said about enemy AI, after baking a fighter charge, you can just kick him and chain the attack to easily stagger an enemy and do some easy damage. You can also get the very useful shield charge skill from very first trainer in Cierzo. It has a similar use as the push kick, and it's incredible for shield users. As mentioned very earlier, every weapon type has a unique skill. All of these are useful, though some of them are stronger than others. One skill category that is very important for melee users are parry skills. They can be used to block an attack and instantly strike back if you have the right timing. Mastering these will make you a god of melee combat in Outward. This is a more advanced piece of advice. Being outnumbered in Outward can happen quite a lot, and it's not a very easy thing to deal with. First of all, some weapons are better at dealing with numerous enemies than others. The halberds are generally the best, as they hit wide and have a decent range. That being said, not everyone is going to use these weapons, and these tips are still useful no matter what the weapon you're using. First, try to keep all the enemies in front of you. You can block any incoming attack coming from the front, and keeping an eye on everyone will help you dodge projectiles the casters might want to snipe you with from the back. You can also use the terrain, as a choke point can be very effective at helping you keeping everyone in sight. Now the main tip when it comes to fighting multiple enemies is to separate them and kill the weak first. Run around a little bit and play with the enemy AI. That will help you find openings to get rid of the weaker enemy first and change the balance of the fight. I want to conclude this video on some building advice. Of course, stamina cost reduction gear is always a good choice. I generally advise not to use a full set of heavy armor. It tends to be more viable to use some combinations, like heavy chest, heavy boots and light head. Healthy helmets tend to increase mana cost, and even melee warriors generally use a little bit of mana. There's also a few helmets that give some stamina cost reduction. Using gear that increase your damage is of course generally a good thing. Lots of armors offer good protection and some damage increase, so don't be afraid to use this. You can perfectly use some very light gear in melee combat, but blocking might not become as reliable, and you will get punished more for your mistakes. Thank you all for watching. I hope you found this guide useful. If you find my content interesting, do not hesitate to subscribe to the channel, as I plan on making more of videos about Outward. I'll see you again. Bye.